So we all know that Trump and his 18 co-defendants need to turn themselves in the Georgia district where they're brought up on all these charges. And I found this amazing, man. So this is a Fox 5 segment and this is before we knew that Trump was going to be arrested, and this is where he's going to be booked. This is about the jail where Trump has to go turn himself in. Just buckle up. That's all I have to say is buckle up. This is really something. Watch this.
The Fulton County Sheriff opened the doors to jail today to show the extremely poor conditions that he's trying to fix.
As Fox 5's More Stiggs reports, the spotlight has been on the jail since the death of a prisoner whose body was covered with bugs.
On top of the Fulton jail.
Wait, all right, hold on. Let me reflect on that for a second. We covered that story. I don't know if you caught it, but they said there was a prisoner who was found dead with bugs all over him who were eating him. Homie was eaten alive by bugs. Now, my guess is he probably died first and then all the bugs were over him, but the way it was reported was quite the opposite, that, they made it sound like he died because he was eaten alive by bugs. That's at this jail. That's at this jail where Trump has to turn himself in. All right, let's continue.
Way overcrowded. There are sections like this one here that they can't use or shouldn't use, and yet they had been used and part of the deplorable conditions.
An inmate complains he needs to get out of the county jail to go see a judge. The sheriff, Pat Labatt, allowed the public to see inside.
Every inmate, every detainee, and every cell.
Labatt says he will look at every floor and talk to the inmates. Some continue to be curled up in doggy-style plastic trays due to overcrowding, and conditions made even worse because some of the jail sections cannot be used.
There's actually a leak behind the wall.
We saw cell doors off hinges, water from leaks, and other things we will not put on this broadcast. One inmate told Labatt he's not been able to shower since Saturday.
I came up here Saturday. We had our intake. We took a shower. We were coming up with intake. That was it.
The highly publicized death of one inmate who sustained bug bites had been housed on a different medical floor. But that death put the Fulco jail and the sheriff in the spotlight.
We have been, telling people we need this kind of help. We're in crisis.
Labatt told me he believes the rank and file were afraid to go over their bosses' heads to let him know how bad things had gotten. Now, he successfully persuaded Atlanta Mayor Dickens to allow him to use the downtown city jail for extra beds. But here's the problem. He has to move already short manpower from Rice Street to supervise transferred prisoners.
Are you restricted somewhat because you're already on a manpower crunch here, so you can only do it in a phase?
So what we've done is, and yes, we're doing it in phases because of manpower.
And the sheriff wants to make it clear he's not asking for a fancy new jail. He calls what's needed a replacement jail. You've seen these conditions here today. It explains why. From Northwest Atlanta, I'm More Stiggs, Fox 5 News.
Now, you're not going to be surprised to learn that in reaction to this, it's the first time in my life that I've seen hardcore Republicans call for prison reform. All it took was their main guy having to, basically get arrested and booked at this particular jail for them to be like, oh my, are you aware of what our prisoners are going through in this country? The plight of these prisoners? Why hasn't anybody done anything about this? And it's like, yeah, dude, you guys have been the number one obstacle to doing anything and trying to improve the situation, even if it's just mildly. You guys have been against it. Because the general thought in America is like out of sight, out of mind. Once people get arrested and they get behind bars, it's like whatever, they're a criminal. Like they got whatever's coming to them, they got coming to them. That's the general reaction from a lot of Americans. I mean, it's true. But then now when they see this and they know their big wet boy is going in there, they feel like, oh my God. Now look, to be clear, I'm sure after he gets booked, he's going to immediately be released on bail. The same situation happened with Jack Smith. It's happened in all these different cases, right? Like, I'm sure that's the reality. But having said that, they're now calling for prison reform. And my reaction to that is, yeah, of course we need to. Are you kidding me? No, I don't care who the human being is. No human being should have to go through that. Okay? Now, I think we should largely copy the Scandinavian systems when it comes to prisons. But having said that, there are some ways in which I think perhaps they're a little too kind. Like, there was a story that we covered a long time ago of somebody in a Scandinavian prison who was really pissed off and arguing with, the officials of that prison because he wanted a new game system. he only had like a original PlayStation and wanted a PS2 or something, or an Xbox 360 or whatever. I don't remember the specifics, but this was the gist of it. Homie had a TV, he had one video game system, and I look at that and I go, okay, a little too much. Nobody should be tortured. Nobody should be in unhealthy conditions, unsanitary conditions. All of that should be taken care of, cleaned up. We should have a more humane system that in most cases is geared towards rehabilitation. But do I have some lines and limits to my empathy and my sympathy? And yes. No, we're not going to get your ass a PS5 or whatever the hell you want after you just committed a double homicide, you prick. Right? So, but having said that, look, this prison right here, I don't think any reasonable person would look at this and say, all systems go, keep it going. I mean, well, to be fair, I'm sure there are like resistance liberals and maybe even some leftists all over the place that just for the feeling of like the like vengeance and retribution against Trump and all he's done for the country, they might feel like, well, in this one instance, I'm happy that the conditions are terrible, but let's all use our rational mind and keep it real that as a matter of policy, none of our systems should be this decrepit and this disgusting and this unsanitary and unsafe. And it's inhumane conditions. By the way, this is one of the reasons why a lot of other countries don't have an extradition treaty with the U.S., because they go, your jails by their very nature are torturing people. So we're not going to, even if it's criminal, we're not going to send them to you because we don't think anybody should have to go through what people in your prisons and jails are going through. I get it, right? I mean, I think that's fair. So anyway, update these prisons, update these jails, make them much safer and cleaner and reasonable. Yeah, I don't want you to go overboard where they get a freaking IMAX theater and video game systems and whatever. Like, I do have limits, but this is clearly beyond the pale. And the only thing that's highlighting it, other than the fact that a dude got eaten alive by bugs at this prison, is now that Trump is going to be booked there. But like I said, I think he'll be in and out. Even though he's done everything to get his pretrial release revoked, at least in the former case, the Jack Smith case. I don't know if anybody has the balls to really put a former president in prison or in jail prior to the actual case. So, hey, at least we found something that got the right somewhat interested in prison reform and addressing the shortfalls of the judicial system. I mean, I guess we'll take the W. I guess we'll take it. Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop. And watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.